same as usual, starting off in your comfortable position. So sitting on the chair, I'm going to try and sit as lifted as possible to encourage that diaphragmatic breath. So picture your diaphragm muscle is between the rib cage, sits between the rib cage and the abdomen. To allow the diaphragm to descend, to create the breath, I need to be able to have the space to do that. So if I'm hunching, I'm compressing everything and the diaphragm can't descend that efficiently. So I will have to use my SEM, so the neck, the front of the chest, the collarbones. So taking the breath into and kind of like excited state, not a very relaxed one. So see if I can try and give myself as much space as I can to encourage that relax, so that rest and digest the breath, that calming breath. So focusing on the breath, every time that you inhale, every time that you breathe in, think of the rib cage and the belly expanding out into that breath. And then as you exhale, I'm just going to let everything relax. I'm not consciously pushing the belly out. I'm just going to let the breath do that. Allowing the shoulders to relax and the head to set. And then trying to find that nice relaxed breath. See if you can do a little scan over the body. So if I'm seated, notice if the pressure on the seat bones is the same right and left side. Notice if you're straight or slightly leaning, slightly twisting to one side. Notice if there is any niggle anywhere within the body. If I'm lying down, noticing the pressure at the back of the shoulders, at the back of the hips, at the back of the legs, at the back of the arms. Is it the same pressure? Is it different? I'm not changing anything. I'm just noticing where the body is and how it feels to begin the session, to begin the class, so that I can compare it then with the end of the class. As I feel a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more settled into position, I'm just going to start getting a little bit of a spinal movement. So starting from the head, starting from the neck, I'm going to start rotating from side to side. So turning the head to look over one shoulder, coming back to the center, and then turning to look the other way. First thing is, see if you can notice the range of movement. So when I turn to the right, it feels easier. When I turn to the left, it feels a bit more restricted. It feels a bit catchy, or my head tends to change position. My chin seems to be dropping or seems to be lifting more. See if I can create a nice, smooth movement both ways, making sure that nothing is causing pain. So never forcing the movement, making sure that there is no pain coming down the arms, so no referred pain into the arms, into the fingers. 4, 3, 2, 1. Easing the head back to the center, and then from rotation I'm going to go into lateral flexion. So I'm going to keep the head facing forward. I'm just going to try and bring the right ear down to the right shoulder, so dropping the head to the right, coming back to the center, left ear to the left shoulder, dropping the head to the left. And then this time, as the head moves from side to side, see if you can notice that gentle stretch coming down from the base of your ear, all the way down the side of the neck into the top of the shoulder. Again, making sure that I'm not forcing, I'm not stiffening, I'm trying to relax as much as I can into the movement. And then if I feel that the movement feels quite easy, feels quite relaxed, I want to make the stretch a little bit stronger, then I'm going to add a little traction. So as the right ear comes down to the right shoulder, with my left arm, I'm going to reach down the side to put a little bit more traction down the side of the neck. So creating a little bit more of a stretch there. Then I'm going to ease that tension, left ear to the left shoulder, and then I'm just going to reach down with the right arm, see if I can create a little bit more traction onto the right side of the neck. Coming back to the center, and then trying the other way. If you put in traction, so if you're reaching down with the arm, also play with the position of the wrist and the position of the hand. If I flex the wrist, if I extend the wrist, if I bring the back of the hand towards the forearm, it encourages a little bit more stretch. If I turn the hand around one way or the other, the stretch changes around, especially around the shoulder and the base of the neck. So see if I can find the position that gives me the better stretch. And then releasing, and then I'm going to try the same thing to the other side. So just playing with the position of the arm, see if I can find a better release for the neck and for the shoulder. 4, 3, 2, last one, and releasing back, returning the head back to the middle, and then from lateral flexion, I'm going to go into a little skull rock, or into a forward flexion and extension. So if you're seated, imagine to have the back of your head and your shoulders against the wall. If I'm laying down, my head and my shoulders are on the floor. I'm going to press the chin into the back of the throat as if I was trying to give myself a double chin, and then see if I can try and lengthen into the back of the neck. So think of the curve at the back of the neck, stretching longer and flattening out. So if my back was against the wall, I'm trying to put my neck on the wall too. And then I'm just going to ease my way forward, and then in reverse, I'm going to lift the chin up, and then trying to lengthen and stretch down the front of the throat. Then I'm going to release. I'm just going to push the chin back into the throat, and then coming up, and then trying that again. So see if I can get a little bit more mobility through the neck. If you find that when you look up, so when you're lengthening through the throat, the neck is pinching, so I feel it feels a bit sore, or I can feel a bit tingling into my hands and down my arms, I'm not going to lift the head that high. So making sure that I'm not compressing any cervical nerves and I'm not irritating the neck. If I'm laying down, the head is staying on the floor. I'm not lifting it up. And then same as usual, if I want to make the stretch just a little bit stronger, as the chin goes up and you're looking up and behind, think of pushing your tongue into the roof of the mouth. So see if I can create just a little bit more tension down the throat and into the neck. 3, 2, last one, and releasing back, returning the head back to the center, and then from the cervical I'm going to move into the thoracic spine. Similar kind of movements. I'm going to start off with a little rotation, same as I did for the neck. So if I'm seated, I can maybe cross the arms onto the chest so that they're out of the way, they're not kind of like dragging along and catching on the chair or the sofa. If I'm laying down, I'm going to bring the arms to the front, hands together or hands apart. And then I'm just going to start swinging the body over to the right. So I'm going to turn the head and the shoulders to look around the right side this time. Come back to center, and then I'm going to turn to look around the left side, and then back to center. So imagine there is somebody behind you. So I'm just going to turn to have a look at who's there. Then I'm going to come back, then I'm going to turn the other way, and then come back. Same as you did for the neck. As the head and the rib cage, as the shoulders turn, notice the movement. It's normally easier to rotate in one direction than it is to rotate the other way. So again, I find it easier to turn and look around to the right than to turn and look around to the left. So if the left is my restricted part, then I'm going to try and see if I can pay a little bit more attention to that side. So I'm just going to try and do it a little bit slower, giving myself maybe a little bit more time, and also check my alignment. I might be slightly leaning, slightly coming out of alignment, and that's causing the restriction, that's causing the limitation in that direction. 4, 3, 2, the spine is nice and long, that core set tightening through the middle, your core muscle active to support you. Last one, and releasing back, releasing the shoulders, releasing the back, resetting the rib cage. From rotation, I'm going to go into a little lateral flexion. It's exactly the same as I did for the head, but this time, instead of just dropping the ear to the shoulder, I'm going to drop the shoulder too. So I'm just going to start reaching down the side of the body. If I'm seated, think of reaching down the side of the chair, coming back to the center, and then reaching down the other way. If you're lying down, you might want to support the back of the head. So one hand goes behind the head so that I can take the head with me as I move into the side. If I'm seated, I don't need it to support the head, as the head is already on top of the shoulders. But if you're seated, see if you can pay attention of your alignment. If the back is stiff, if the thoracic, the movement through the thoracic is a bit restricted, is a little bit limited, then the tendency is to lean forward, or sometimes to kind of like lean back. See if you can again picture your back against the wall. I want to keep my back against the wall, and then I just want to move side to side, keeping my shoulders, my hips, and my head on the wall. So I feel a little bit more relaxed, the movement feels a little bit looser. See if you can be aware of a little bit more connection down the side of the belly. So imagine 2 elastic bands that connect your hip with your rib cage. Think of lengthening one and then pulling down with the other. So I'm going to flex one way, then I'm going to shorten the other, and then lengthen the first side. Shorten the first side, lengthen the second side, shorten the second side, and lengthen the right. So think of 2 sets of pulleys that just working in opposing direction. One is pulling down, one is reaching out and lengthening, one is pulling down, one is reaching out and lengthening the other way. 4, 3, 2, last one, and returning back to the middle. So again, it's a little bit more mobility through the upper back. I'm going to try, same with the neck, to go into a little extension flexion. So whether I'm seated or down on the mat, think of moving from your upper back, not to your lower back. So imagine somebody holding your hips. So I can't roll my hips forward and back. I'm going to hold the pelvis still. So making the belly work to maintain that position steady. And then I'm just going to start flexing. So imagine to be pushing your chest into the back of the ribcage, the breastbone into the back of the ribcage. So I'm going to round the shoulders and the upper back. And then imagine to be pulling your breastbone out of the ribcage. So I'm going to push the chest forward, lifting it up, and see if I can try and extend through the upper back. So I'm going to flex, I'm going to round the shoulders, round the upper back, and then extend. I'm going to try and open and lift as much as I can. So see if I can be aware of a little movement happening at the top of the spine. Especially if I know that I'm a bit hunched forward. So it's a bit stiffness through the upper back. Picture like a little rusty hinge into the middle of the rib cage, right between the shoulder blades. See if you can, like you would do if there wasn't a rusty hinge, just with a small movement to just gradually try to ease that stiffness off, and then see if I can get the hinge to move a little bit more, a little bit better each time. So I'm just going to try and flex and extend. If I'm lying down, I'm a little bit limited for movement in flexion, but I can always lift the head off the ground if I want to. So coming up with a little mini curl, mini crunch. And then as I extend, I'm just going to try and lift the back of the ribcage away from the mat. Then I'm going to try and curl myself forward. And then I'm going to extend my way up again. 3. 2. Last time. And releasing back, and releasing the back. And then from the upper back, I'm going to move into the lower back. I'm going to start with a little flexion extension. So I'm going to start with a little pelvic tilt. So if I'm lying down, I'm just going to do the same as I did for the neck, the little skull rock forward and back, but I'm doing it with the pelvis. So I'm going to scoop the belly in, scoop the belly down, and then tilting the pelvis back. I'm going to try and press the lower back down into the mat, and then I'm going to try and lift it away. So just gently trying to rock the pelvis forward and back. Just a gentle massage into the back of the hips, a little bit of a tension into the abdominal wall. See if you can start focusing on your pelvic floor, trying to draw up from the front passage, lifting everything up towards the inside of the body. If I'm seated, exactly the same movement. Unfortunately, I haven't got anything behind me to guide the movement, but exactly the same as I did for the thoracic spine. Think of the movement this time happening not at the top of the spine, but at the bottom of the spine. So I want the top of the spine to stay pretty much the same shape. I'm just going to round through the hips to see if I can try and lengthen the lower back, feeling that gentle tension through the abdomen, helping me drawing in, drawing back, and then I'm going to rock forward and then see if I can bring the curve back on again. So I'm going to tilt and reverse that tilt. So as if I was trying to roll onto the back of my seat bones and onto the tailbone, and then lifting back up through the seat bones, and then as if I was trying to come forward onto the pubic bone. So I'm just going to rock back and then come forward. So gentle massage, see if I can loosen up the stiffness, the tension from down there. 5. 4. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the neck. 3. 2. 1. And easing back to the middle. Trying to bring yourself back to that nice long upright position. And then from flexion extension, I'm going to go into a little lateral flexion, into a little hip hitch. So this time, instead of trying to pull the ribs towards the hips, I'm going to try and pull the hip towards the rib. So I'm going to try and hitch the right hip up, ease down. I'm going to try and hitch the left hip up and then ease down. If I'm seated, I'm just going to use the arms if I need to give me a little support, a little direction. See if you can be aware of the tension into the obliques, into the side of the belly, tensing to help you pull up. So what I want is imagine to be lifting the right seat bones off the chair and then drop it back down, lifting that left seat bone off the chair and then dropping it back down again. If I'm lying down, the pelvis is staying flat against the mat. I can feel the pelvis and just gently rocking side to side. So the right side tenses, the right hip hitches up. The left side tenses, the left hip hitches up. And then same as you've been doing so far, just noticing if there is difference between the right and the left side. I might find that hitching the right hip feels really easy, hitching the left feels really hard. Same as you've been doing so far, always focus on the hard side. See if I can spend just a little bit longer thinking of the movement, trying to picture that tension, the abdominal wall tensing to create that pull, to create that lift, the pelvis moving slightly and then coming back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and easing back to the center, resetting the hips back to the middle, and then from lateral flexion, from hip hitch, I'm going to move into rotation again. So if you're lying down, I'm just going to let the arms open out nice and wide. I'm going to shuffle the feet and the knees nice and close together, and then imagine to have your legs tied together. So it's one leg, it's not two legs anymore. I've only got one big one. I'm just going to start rolling the hips to the right, taking the legs to the right with me, rotating gently in that direction, coming back to the center, and then I'm going to repeat the same thing to the other side. If I'm seated, unfortunately, I'm a bit limited because obviously my seat bends are down on the chest, so I can't move the hips, but I can still get a little bit of a rotation by pushing the leg across. So with the right hand, I'm going to reach across to the left leg. I'm going to try and pull the leg across to the right. And then I'm going to try and turn the opposite direction. I'm going to try and turn and look away. Then come back to center. And then I'm going to rotate. I'm going to twist the other way. Come back to center. And then over to the other side. So still a little bit of a movement in rotation. Again, noticing how far the hips rotate one way, how far they go the other, how easy the movement might be feeling when I turn in one direction, how much harder or stiffer might be feeling when I turn to the other side. And then every so often, just remind your shoulders to stay down. So try not to wear your shoulders as if they were two pair of earrings, so up here. So see if I can remind them to stay down, to stay relaxed, so the neck feels long, feels loose. 4, 3, 2, last one, and releasing back, resetting the shoulders, resetting the hips. So I've got a little bit more movement through the all of the spine. So the spine is a bit warmer. I'm going to start going into the limbs. So going through the arms first and then working into the hips. So we're going to start with a little front raise. So I'm going to start with the arms at the front, and then I'm going to start raising, the right arm up to the front. As the arm comes up, see if you can think of a movement that feels as easy as it gets. There is no tension, I'm not forcing, and there is no pain. Then I'm going to ease that arm down, and then I'm going to repeat the same thing with the other side. So the neck is free to move. It doesn't feel as if it's stiffening or tensing. Again, the shoulder is not coming up to my head. I'm not leaning to the side. It just feels loose. It feels relaxed. So especially if you're seated, imagine somebody kind of like pulling your arm up and then suddenly just letting it drop into the hip socket, into the shoulder socket. So see if I can really try to relax through the upper body. So it could be a very little lift. It could be a very big lift. One side might be feeling a little bit heavier, so the movement will be slightly smaller. One side might be feeling really light, so the movement will be bigger. So just playing with the right, playing with the left arm. If you're down on your back, the tendency, if the shoulder is restricted, is to start arching the back. So the chest will tend to go up as the arm moves. So instead of moving from the shoulder, I'm just going to arch through the back. See if I can be aware, see if I can try and keep the rib cage down, keep the rib cage soft on the mat. A gentle activation at the front of the belly, trying to help me maintain the rib cage still while the arm is moving from one onto the other side. 4, 3, 2, last one, and releasing back. Relaxing the shoulders, we're going to have a little rest for the shoulder girdle, and then I'm going to try and work into the hip. Exactly the same movement that I did for the arms, but this time I'm just going to repeat on the same leg. So I'm going to focus on the same side. So if you know that you need a little support, I'm going to use my strap, my belt, my band behind that right leg to give me that support, so that I've got the arms that to help me guide that leg up and down. If I'm seated, I can use the band, or because I'm closer to the leg than if I was lying down, I can even use the arms. I'm just making sure that I'm not hunching forward. I'm still trying to maintain that nice open upright position. And then once that I'm happy that the leg is set, then same as I did with the arm, I'm just going to try and lift it up as high as I can, and then I'm going to pop it back down again. So see if you can picture the head of the femur, the top of the leg, moving into the hip socket, into that little lifting and lowering. So the hip closing, flexing to help me bring the leg up, and then easing back down. So think of almost like focus the intention right into the front of the hip and into that side of the belly. So the belly is helping me to stabilize the torso as the leg is lifting, so that the body is not collapsing every time that I pull the leg up and towards me. It could be a little lift, there might be no lift, the leg might be so heavy that I can just barely lift the heel off the floor. It's whatever it is, I'm not straining myself to get into a bigger movement. So I don't want the neck to start overloading, I don't want the arms to start tensing too much. And then if I need a rest, I'm just going to take a rest whenever I feel that I need one. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one, and releasing back, relaxing the hip, releasing the leg. I'm going to try the same thing to the left side. So same as before, if I need a little support for the leg, I'm going to use the strap. If I don't need that support, I'm just going to work without the strap, and then if the leg starts becoming too heavy, I can always grab hold of the strap when I need to do so. So see if I can try and create the same connection through that left hip, encouraging that left leg to come up, and then to ease back down. Pelvis is staying stable, little tension into the side of the belly to help me stabilize that movement. See if I can control the leg up, and then controlling it back down. Find the speed that works for you. Think of finding something that challenges you, doesn't strain you. So not too quick as opposed to kind of like swinging the leg. There's something a little bit slower that is going to give me time to connect to the leg, to connect to the movement, to feel that little tension, the little twitching at the front of the hip, even if my arms are helping to lift the leg up. 4, 3, 2, last one, and releasing down, relaxing the hip, releasing the leg, relaxing the arms. I'm going to change the direction of the movement, going back onto the arms. This time, instead of a front raise, I'm going to go for a little lateral raise. So instead of bringing the arm up to the front, I'm going to swing the arm round the side and then bring it towards the head, as if I was trying to wave in the arm. Then coming back, and then with the left, with the other side, I'm going to do the same. Exactly the same as you did for the front raise. See if you can be aware of the position of your shoulder. As the arm comes up, it doesn't feel as if the shoulder is shrugging. It doesn't feel as if the neck is stiffening. It feels relaxed. So the arm again is dropping into the shoulder socket, so there is no stiffness. I'm not creating tension into the neck, into the head. So it could be a very little lift. It could be a very big lift. As far as it's a relaxed one, that's all I want. 7. 6. Changing the angle, so I could keep the arm right to the side, so brushing the floor if I'm laying down. I might find that that grinds a bit too much on the shoulder, so I might allow the arm to come slightly forward, finding a smoother movement for the shoulder, for the arm. 2. Last one. And releasing back. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the upper body. And then I'm going to, again, give a little rest for the shoulders and then move into the legs. Same as I did for the arms, I'm going to go into a lateral movement. So I'm going to go into a little knee drop. So if you're, whether you're seated or lying down, again, if you need a little guidance for the leg, you can use the hand or you can use the strap around the right leg. So we're going to repeat on the same side. So I'll just focus on one leg. And then this time what I want, instead of lifting and lowering, I'm going to open and close the leg. So I want that right leg to start opening to the side as much as it can go. And then I want the leg to close back to center. See if I can try and squeeze the knees back together. And then I'm going to open out again. So think of the 2 sets of pulleys that earlier on was pulling you down from side to side. Imagine to be dropping the sets of pulleys into the side of the hip and into the inner thigh. So it's those 2 muscles working together to create that little in and out movement into the hip, into the leg. So I can feel the inner thigh working when the leg comes in. I can feel the side of the hip working when I pull out. And then if the hip is stiff or the leg is a bit temperamental, so it doesn't want to go there, then I'm just going to guide it. I'm just going to give it a little push to take it out. And then I might need a little guidance to help me come back. So nice and easy, nice and relaxed. If I'm laying down, as the leg opens out, making sure that I'm not twisting my hips in that direction. So I want the pelvis to stay stable on the mat, the belly to stay connected. As the leg moves, imagine to be balancing a ball into the center of the tummy, into the center of the belly. I don't want the ball to roll off to the side. I want to keep it that way. 4. Squeeze it back together. 3. Squeeze it back together. 2, squeeze. Last one. Open and close. Relaxing the hip, releasing the inner thighs, just giving it a little tap to help relax through the hip. And then I'm going to repeat the same thing to the left side. So same as I did on the right, if I need a little guidance, I might use the hand or I might use the band to help me control the leg. I'm going to start opening that left knee out to the left. So as far as I can. Hips are steady, the belly connected. And then I'm going to squeeze back to the middle. And then open it out to the side again. So same as I did on the lifting, on the little knee lifting earlier on. See if I can notice any difference in movement on this side. So I might find that this leg moves better. I might find that this one is a bit uncomfortable. I can feel a little bit of a pinching into the side of the hip when I open too much. So same as I've been doing so far, making sure that there is no pain. So I'm not forcing the leg in a painful range. Squeezing it back in place, really trying to get the inside of the leg, the inner thigh working. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. And releasing back, relaxing the hip again, just giving it a little bit of a tapping, a little bit of a rubbing to help relax. It's a little bit more connection through the inner thigh. I'm going to see if I can start to bring the upper and the lower body together. So if you need a little support, you can use the band around the right side. If you're using the band, you can only do one side at a time, obviously. So you'll be doing one side and then you'll be repeating on the other side. So I'll be doing 5 on one side and then switch and do 5 on the other side. I'm going to imagine to be puppeting the legs. So imagine a string that goes from your right hand to your right leg, from your left hand to that left leg. I'm going to start pulling the string with the right arm. I want the right leg to come up. Then I'm going to ease my way back. I'm going to pull the string with my left arm. I want my left leg to come up. And then I'm going to ease it back down. So same as I did before, especially if you're not using strap, you might find that I can just about lift the heel off the ground. It doesn't matter. See if you can focus on that tension at the front of the hip, the connection between the arm and the leg. See if I can be aware of that lift. So just picturing the string, I'm going to pull up on that leg and then put it back down, pull up on the leg and then put it back down. So same if I'm laying down, just a little lift or a big lift, and then I'm going to control it back. Switch inside if you're working with the band. So left arm with the left leg working together. 4. 3. Relaxing the neck, relaxing the jaw. 2. Last one. And releasing back, relaxing the hips, releasing the belly, relaxing the shoulders, having a little rest. I'm going to try one more time. The same movement, but I'm going to change the combination. So this time, instead of having the string that attaches your right hand to your right knee, think of the string that attaches your left hand to your right knee and your right hand to the left. So this time the strings are crossing over. So when my right arm goes up, my left leg comes up. When my left arm goes up, my right leg. So imagine almost like an exaggerated marching movement. So I'm trying to march up on one side, he's back, and then marching on the other side, and then he's back. So opposite sides, and then coming back. Again, if you're using the band, you'll be repeating on the same side. This time just crossing over. So right arm, left leg, coming back. Right arm, left leg, and then coming back again. 3, 2, change inside. If you're doing the same side, repeating across the other way. 1, 2, aware of the shoulders, aware of the neck. Am I hunching? Am I stiffening? Can I bring the head back on top of the shoulder? Can I sit a little bit taller? Can I lie down a little bit longer? 7, 8, 9, 10. And releasing back. Relaxing the shoulders, releasing the hips, so relaxing the legs, and then just working just a few reps in reverse. So I'm going to bring the feet a little bit closer to the chair if I'm seated. And then think of shifting the weight forward into the legs. So I'm going to come forward into the legs, and as if I was trying to stand up, I'm going to squeeze with the back of the bum. I'm going to try and ease the seat bones off the chair, and then I'm just going to drop back onto my chair again. So I'm going to come up and then ease down. So see if I can try and put a little bit of a tension through the legs, and see if I can connect through the legs, top of the leg, back of the leg. If I'm laying down, I'm going to come up into bridge. So pushing through the soles of the feet, I'm going to try and squeeze the hips off the mat, going as high up as I feel comfortable, just trying to open up the hip, making the back of the bum work. And then I'm just going to ease my way back down. 2 more times. So pushing up. And then coming down. Last time. And releasing back. Relaxing the legs, releasing the hips. If you're lying down, when you're ready, rolling over onto your side. And in your own time, pushing yourself up into sitting. Finding a comfortable seated position. So setting the legs out in front, crossing the legs, leaning on the sofa, leaning on the wall, just making sure that it's nothing that is going to be sliding off, and moving if I need a little support, or just using the arms at the back to give me that support. And then same as we did at the beginning, see if I can try and find space at the front of the body. So I'm going to try and open up the front of the body. I'm going to flick the shoulders back and down, sending the chest up and towards the ceiling. I'm going to look forward, I'm going to look up, I'm going to try and lengthen the front of the body. And then releasing, reversing, I'm going to try and lengthen the back of the body, allowing the chin to come down to the chest, the shoulders to curl forward, And then I'm just going to drop forward as far as I feel comfortable dropping. I'm curling my way back up. I'm going to extend my way forward, flicking the shoulders back and down, lifting through the chest, looking forward, looking up, looking back. And then releasing, coming forward. Chin to the chest, rolling the shoulders, rounding the upper back, rounding the lower back. And then last time, extending your way up, trying to create as much lift, as much space at the front of the body as you possibly can. And then releasing back to the front. One hand to the belly, one hand to the back. Take your bow. Give yourself a clap. Well done. Any question or anything as usual, please say. Remember, you need to unmute yourself.